I watched the moon disappear behind the pregnant clouds. I found it terribly unfair that the moon could hide away when I had to face the facts of life. There was no one else on the bridge, and I thanked whichever God who showed that little bit of mercy. I couldn't face people. I couldn't look at the parents who brought their kids to the pond to feed the ducks. I couldn't think about James never having the opportunity to do that. I had no energy to think about never entwining my arm with my mother's as we walked on the streets when we went shopping again. I wanted to avoid anything that reminded me of that. I had other things to worry about. I preferred dealing with that rather than facing my parents' death. Anything but that. The bridge had a spooky sort of vibe. More than a few lights were out, and the fog floated in the air in a thick cloud. It turned the air gray. I had a certain connection to this place, to this bridge. It was where Felix and I met as children. It was where we went to get away from overbearing parents and bullies who mocked my red hair. It was where we went when we were completely shattered and relied on the other person to put us back together. I needed Felix now more than ever. This place felt empty without him. I half expected a troll to reveal himself from under the bridge. That was the sort of place this was like without company. It was creepy and mythical. It was as if I stepped out of Manhattan and into a fairy tale land. It was magnificent. Margaret loved it here, but she wasn't with me now. No, she was far, far away, avoiding the dark shadows of my mind. I took a swig of the alcohol in the bottle that I wrapped in a brown paper bag. The vodka didn't go down smoothly, and it burned my throat. Good. That meant it was working. Perhaps if I drank enough, I would forget how incredibly angry I was. I couldn't grieve in the way I was supposed to because of a shadow in the shape of Nico Beneventi looming over my head. I was angry that I had to plan, plot, and get my brother to safety. But most importantly, I was angry at myself for not seeing through the ploy to get me out of the country. I should have seen that something was up. I should have known that things were serious. I considered backing out of the deal. Of course I have, but where would I have gone? Was there a place in the world where I could hide safely from Nico? It was no secret that the 9 largest crime lords were in a truce and working together. Would he have gotten the others to look for me as well? Surely they had the same mindset as him. They were the law, and the contract was solid to them. And poor James, what sort of life could I give him if we were constantly on the run? I doubted I could even get to him in time before Nico sent his goons to Aunt Marie's place. I couldn't put James at risk like that. I just couldn't do it. The wounds were still too fresh, as if the blows had come only minutes ago. It was too raw to even address the footsteps approaching me. I didn't care who it was. Was it someone who was sent to kill me? Would I even have minded in the state I was in? I couldn't be sure, but I knew the rhythm, the pace, and the breathing. I knew that it was Felix who was approaching me and not some psycho. For a moment, he sat next to me on the hand railing, our feet dangling over the edge. I handed him the bottle, and he took it, even though I could see that he was carrying a bag with another bottle. Good. I was going to need a lot of liquid courage. "I got your voicemail," Felix announced after he took a sip of the cheap alcohol. He gagged. His shoulders were wide, and his chest was broad and strong. In the dim lighting from the corner of my eye, I could just make out the sharp lines of his jaw, eye sockets, and brows. I knew that his cobalt blues were fixed in front of him on the far end of the pond. I knew the weight that gaze of his could carry. I was glad that I was not the one on the other end of it.
to keep listening to this audiobook. I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.